It started as a protest against vaccine requirements for lorry drivers, but it's mushroomed to an anti-government movement which has paralysed not only this capital city, but vital trade routes between Canada and the US.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views.
If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. The consequences are real, and they will bite.
There's this war right on Russia's border, and there's no effort to negotiate going on. There's like no effort. In fact, from very solid reporting, that actually America, through Boris Johnson, told Ukraine not to negotiate with Russia at the very beginning of the war, when they had a deal worked out.
A lot of these big banks were not super supportive of the idea of cutting several Russian lenders off of the SWIFT messaging system. Their rationale for doing so, and this is based on people I've spoken with that are familiar with the matter, they believe that that would actually hurt Russian consumers more than it would hurt Putin and his allies. They also think it could be just another trigger to send inflation higher than it already is.
I wasn't surprised because we knew that this is the way that the country is going. We knew this. We saw this 2 months ago. We saw this when Trump was in office, when he appointed those people. And he made it clear when he was on that debate stage that if he got 3 Supreme Court justices, that we would be here today. And so I'm saying today to Congress, it's time for them to codify.
I will not stand by and watch. I will not. The will of the American people be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
So they default me, they rig these court cases, won't let us put on evidence, have a jury in Texas say 50 million, a jury in Connecticut in a literal kangaroo court say 965 million, almost $1 billion. And now the judge, the lawyers are asking in these extra damages that deal with unfair trade practices that the judge has found me guilty on, not the jury, for $2,750 million.
Alert, Elon Musk officially owns Twitter. He bought it not to make money, but to restore free speech to America. If he actually does that, this country will change forever.
You know what I'm saying? JP Morgan, I put $140 million into JP Morgan and they treated me like So if JP Morgan Chase is treating me like that, how they treating the rest of y'all?
That's outrageous, yeah.
The Senate has passed a $1.7 trillion spending bill.
$42 billion aid to Ukraine, $27 billion for victims of natural disasters. Most of what's in here has been put together in a bipartisan fashion.
It's the right thing for the government, the right thing for the nation, I believe.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn, episode 35. What a hell of a year 2022 has been. Hit it off, Andy-O.
35, still alive. Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, 2022, definitely a hell of a year. One thing that I kind of wanted to bring out in those videos, I edited this on a bus, and I kind of had kind of missed a couple of things that I wanted to put in there too, because it's really just hard to encapsulate an entire year, especially when you've got the cast of characters that we have. But people have pointed this out. Other people have pointed this out. Corbett's a really big one, but it's the debanking thing has been a theme, and it started with Chrystia Freeland debanking the truckers in Ottawa, and it goes on to debanking Russia, and then debanking Ye, and then trying to charge Alex Jones an amount of money that's only comparable to our omnibus spending bills that we're just chucking out here all the time. Keep the printer going.
Or the entire GDP of Italy.
Right. Yeah, Alex Jones makes that much money.
It's so stupid.
Alex Jones was saying in another video that he's probably got $5 million if he liquefied everything. Yeah. He's got a lot of things. He's got servers for band.video. He's got to pay a lot of bills. He's got a really great staff, the people that work for his show. Even if you don't like Alex Jones, you got to respect people like Greg Reese. Alex Jones is got a media company, and it's not like he's out on his boat all the time. He's a very hardworking man. He's on his show almost every single day. So the amount of money that they're trying to say that Alex Jones owes for saying some words, that's a big thing. He just said some words. It's not like he didn't tell anybody to go hurt anybody or anything, and the courts are completely rigged against him, and the media has pushed public sentiment against him, at least in the mainstream. But I challenge mainstream people to go watch what Alex Jones says. Listen to the man. He's not as crazy as he's been made out to be. He's a little crazy.
Oh, he's definitely a little crazy, but he's nowhere near as crazy as they made him out to be. And he was right about the frogs. He was right about the frogs.
Did you happen upon a homosexual lily pad out there? You're just like, I was out clubbing with some frogs and they tried to have sex with me, and I'm like, what? No, dude, frogs. I like women. I thought we were gonna have a cool lily pad party, and yeah. No.
They're turning the freaking frogs gay. But how do you do your best impression of that one? Turning the freaking frogs gay.
Yeah. Hold on. I don't like it when they turn the frogs gay. It's atrazine, y'all. If you want to know that there is a lot of truth to this, it's not that they're turning the frogs gay. It's that the sex of the frogs is changing because of the chemicals that are ending up in the water, and some of those chemicals come from our piss because it's things that we're consuming. And so ladies, whenever they're taking stuff like Depo-Provera and stuff like that, it ends up in the water, and the frogs have a very sensitive system, and it can flip their sex because they have some sort of trait that if, say, the population is mostly males, some of them will become female and vice versa. So it's a cool thing that some amphibians have. And so, yeah, the water turns the frogs gay, and there's chemicals like atrazine, and we can rail on this all the time. But Alex Jones.
Well, just to tie into that question, is atrazine what's used in birth control?
No, it's another chemical, but the Depo-Provera is a birth control chemical, and yeah, these things are ended up in the water. And yeah, there's a lot of other things ending up in the water. And hey, all these trannies with their hormone replacement therapies going out and pissing in the water, or just pissing in your toilet because it ends up in the public water, and in the in the streams and all the other stuff, and all their extra crazy hormones could interfere with those frogs. So all this tampering. You start somewhere small in the head of some mentally ill person. You start somewhere small with that mentally ill person. That mentally ill person pollutes the water, and you got a bunch of gay frogs here.
Yeah, well, and does that not tie into the other weird things? They complain about nuclear power plants, which is at the moment the best way that we can power without harming the environment. But they promote transsexual conversion therapy and all this other stuff that actually causes problems in the ecosystem.
Oh yeah, yeah. So if it's something that could benefit society and humanity in some way, then that's too dangerous. But if it's something that can make somebody that's lost their mind turn into something that they'll never be, then by all means. The thing is, the companies that are making money off of this are making about $7 million off of each person that they convince is trying to become one of those things. So when they make this money, I mean, like it's getting promoted. Like people are going to promote this. It's a big business for them. You can make $7 $7 million per individual. I mean, that's why they do it.
But those are established businesses, but they're discouraging new innovation.
No. Okay, so because it's covered by insurance, because of the insanity that we're dealing with, it's covered by insurance. They make $7 million per person that they convince is another gender. And once they're convinced and they start taking the medicine, the confirmation bias starts to come with all the chemicals that they take. There have been several cases of people trying to change back, but the amount of damage that doing something so drastic does to somebody, it's very difficult for somebody to go back.
If you cut off your male anatomy, I don't think you can go back. I don't think you can reattach it.
You got to keep it like Michael Obama.
But I mean, we like seriously, like I was listening to a Ben Shapiro clip where he was talking to some like random podcaster that I never heard of before, and he was just like, we've literally gone through the matrix, starting with Trump. We've just gone through the eye of the needle, and I have no idea where we are at the moment. I mean, with the debanking that they're doing right now, the level of debanking. I mean, seriously, 100 years ago, the what's that group that does the that protected the Nazis when they were marching?
Oh, sorry, I'm losing it. The ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union.
And did they say anything about Kanye West when Kanye West defended the Nazis?
The ACLU is owned. It's a it's a villain organization at this point. It kind of always has been, but
Well, no, I mean, not always. I mean, back then they actually stood for freedom of speech. It's like, hey, we don't like the Nazis, but they have the freedom of speech to go through and have their march. It's not always been, at some point they got co-opted. Like what does freedom of speech look like anymore? I mean, Kanye West, if we just focus on the debanking thing, Kanye West got debanked. Like seriously, but like why?
He said some things to some extremely powerful people that you're not allowed to talk about how powerful they are. Didn't like. And so when you say that you're powerful, they use their power against them. And hey, prove that they're not powerful. I don't know. There's somewhere in there where the equation gets messed up, and and there's a whole bunch of stuff that people are just not allowed to talk about anymore. You're just not allowed to talk. Well, there was never a time when you were allowed to talk about that sacred group.
That sacred group. I mean, we should, in my opinion, we used to have a time where we could talk about the sacred group, Jews, but we should still be able to talk about it. And that's the fact that Kanye West got blacklisted. Was I thought like it, whenever you bring something to light, bring an argument to light, and get ridiculed, that's the way it goes. If Kanye West coming on with Alex Jones, and Alex Jones seems to be the moderate, it's like, oh, that's what it looks like to bring something to light. Wasn't that the best thing ever?
That was awesome. I had so much fun with that, and then and Alex Jones really. Yeah, that was probably the tamest I've seen Alex as well, but the thing is, Alex Jones is kind of a living version of what the ACLU was meant to be originally, because he believes in free speech and is going to let you say what you want to say. He'll push back on you a little bit. He did a lot of interrupting in his interview with Nick Fuentes, because later on after that he interviewed Nick Fuentes by himself, and anytime he'd get Nick started on something, Alex would be like, "Oh, I gotta interrupt you. We gotta take a break here," and Nick would just be like, what's going on here?" And Nick says something, he makes a point, and then Alex Jones changes. "Where were you on 9/11?" It's just
I still love the little net for Netanyahu. That was great.
The absolute best. But yeah, I think that questions have to be asked, and if these questions exist, I've gone in quite a few rabbit holes on this subject, and it looks like there's quite a bit of corruption, and so I'm not somebody that hates anybody. I'm like, yay, I don't hate anyone, but hey, answer some of these questions. Don't be so afraid of questions that you can't just say, hey, this is because of this or this is because of that. Because I know people of that, like I know Jewish people that have nothing to do with banking, nothing to do with Hollywood, nothing to do with any of the stuff that's going on. But
And
yeah.
I know I stand on the other side of you on some other questions about the Jewish state and stuff like that. But to me, the whole point is it should be able to be talked about. And I think that was one of the biggest things that we were facing this year. I also, let's transition into this. I think that's the biggest mistake that Elon Musk made, personally, was blocking Kanye West and Alex Jones. Apart from that, I think Elon Musk has been doing an amazing job with Twitter. Freedom of speech wise and blocking people doxing him. I actually don't have a problem with him blocking the people that doxed him. What are your thoughts on that?
Are you even in the trenches on Twitter though? I've noticed that since Elon's taken over that Twitter, I won't say that it's gotten worse, but I've started to see things that I wasn't seeing before. And some of those things that I wasn't seeing before was a whole bunch of, hey, come check out my cam, whole bunch of porn stuff. And I didn't see this stuff so much before. So I know that he tinkered with some of the algorithms as far as what they're hiding and everything. But yeah, it's Twitter's gotten a little bit more smutty, but at the same time, they're getting rid of the kind of stuff. They're getting rid of the really extreme, dangerous, gross stuff. Now that Elon's taken over, I know that I can't remember the guy's name, but the pervert that was in charge of safety happens to also
Yolan, something like Yolan.
Yoel Roth.
There we go.
Yeah, rings a bell. But yeah, that one also was he was talking about kids being on Grindr. He was talking about a bunch of really messed up stuff. I think they should look inside that guy's laptop, because I think it would give some more information. He probably left data.
What's his face? It might put Joe Biden's son to shame. It might put Joe Biden's son to shame.
And so, I don't know. I mean, Hunter has no shame.
Hunter Biden. That's what I was trying to remember.
Yeah.
But from my perspective on that one, it's the whenever you're rolling back an overarching system, I wish I could remember. It might have been Michael Malice or was talking to someone about this type of idea. It was Michael Malice or someone like that was talking about the idea. Whenever you have over encroaching government that's so high, it was Lex Friedman talking to Elon Musk, and they were talking about how you need to the best proposition for a new law is to make that law time out in X amount of time. And the purpose of that is so that that law does not create bureaucracy. Because the current system that we have is we've got another law, and then we've got another law, and then that creates some type of bureaucracy, and that bureaucracy lobbies for another law, and then it just keeps on stacking up. And what, in my opinion, Elon Musk is doing right now is he's just removing all the rules, and then he's going to implement the ones that are necessary. And so
I haven't seen him do that yet, but I could see that being an okay strategy.
But you get what I'm saying. It's like whenever you get into a system that's completely full of bureaucracy, because he's been, actually, I don't know. Has he reinstalled Stefan Molyneux? I would love if he did.
Not that I've seen. But
that's the next one I want.
There was E. Michael Jones is back though, and yeah, that's great.
Michael Jones.
E. Michael Jones. You should check him out. He's worthwhile for sure.
Well, shout out to the Michael Jones.
The letter E.
E. Michael Jones. Well, shout out to E. Michael Jones.
Echo.
So, but are you following what I'm saying? That whenever you deal with such a level of bureaucracy, the first thing you have to do is tear down the whole structure in order to just get back to a base level. And I think that's what Musk is doing right now. And that's what I'm hoping he's doing. And then, I like the idea that he'd mentioned about whatever we're doing a, colony on Mars. All the laws should be readable in an hour for anybody that votes on them. You should be able to read it. And also, there's a timeout on that law. 5 years, 10 years, there's a period where that law ends. And if somebody wants to keep that law going, they have to re-put that law forward. I think that's a great idea, personally. What are your thoughts?
I don't think we're ever going to Mars.
I mean, as just simply as a Twitter proposition for rebuilding, like for a democracy, a republic democracy, like we need some timeout on these laws because it just creates bureaucracy. It creates so much of a mess because we're not getting rid of any of these laws that we have on the books, which in my opinion is what's contributing to these debanking things.
I believe in cooperative communities. I don't believe in democracy. I think that what everybody does is just gets together, finds out if they can work together or not, and then, hey, cool, you got a community now. You sort things out your way. If somebody needs to hit the highway, let them hit the highway. Do it peacefully if you can. If you can't, you know what you got to do. And then everybody gets to be around the people they want to be around. And sometimes things affect more than one community. So sometimes you got to have communication between them. But, that's just dreaming. I mean, everything is just built on dreaming. But yeah, there you go. That's how that works, or should work.
Well, I mean, the reason it's not working that way is because
I think there's places that decide that they want to have a leader, an autocrat, for instance. I think that those places will probably be more successful than the places that are mud democracy and they want to have a vote for everything, every minute of the day, and they spend all their time voting and not actually getting things done. I think that the autocracy in a system like that would probably be better off. And you just gotta, you gotta pick your autocrat. You don't want to live in an autocracy of somebody that completely conflicts with you. But if you got one that is solid and awesome and, a really great autocrat, then you're good. It's like the reason I don't like the autocrat running our country right now is he doesn't put up with me philosophically.
Will you sniff young ladies' hair He hugs women very awkwardly. He places his hands on his hips, on their hips. I'm pretty sure that's not acceptable.
Well, hey, there's a bunch of people that run cover for all that, and they seem to think that it's okay. But
well, for an autocrat, to shift topics a little bit, what are your thoughts on Zelensky? And did I pronounce that right?
Are you talking about Zelensky?
Zelensky. I said Zelensky. Yeah, Zelensky.
Well, I said much earlier that I don't hate anybody, but he's pretty darn close to like the closest level you can get of people that I dislike.
Well, I mean, here's a thought. Putin is essentially like the head. He's the head of the CIA in Russian terms. Like, I don't like the CIA. I don't like the covert stuff. I mean, Putin came to power
for years. He's run Russia for over 20 years now, right?
Well, I get that, but he's got that, that mindset that the CIA has. And I wouldn't want anybody from the CIA running the US government. I have a problem with somebody that's essentially from the CIA running the Russian equivalent of CIA.
Definitely, at the very least, extremely groomed by the CIA, but Obama's mother was CIA. So
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Was it Obama's mother or dad that was Hawaiian, that was black? No, his mother was white, wasn't she?
Mother was white, yeah.
Oh, that's wild. But you get my question, right? Like, I mean, it's basically like in Russia, we essentially have the equivalent of the head of the CIA running Russia, CIA Russia or whatever. But
I think he's awesome, and if you respect democracy, then democratically he's the most successful thing probably in the world. So if you think that votes are really how things are, the people in Russia love Putin, and he's a good leader. I wish he was running this place instead of Sniffy Joe.
So where are we sitting at now with Zelensky? How do you think the war in Ukraine's going? What do you think's going on here?
So there was something that we didn't talk about that happened. It was just a different news cycle, and the Ukraine story is always on the back burner. But there was bombs in Poland, and Russia was blamed for them off the bat, and cooler heads did eventually prevail. And they found out that they were Ukrainian bombs. They were actually Russian bombs, but they were launched by the Ukrainians. And Ukraine was trying to get a NATO country involved in this situation because that's kind of their whole goal. Is so there's the people that set this whole thing up, and they have their agenda, but Ukraine's playing their part, but they also have their agenda, and their agenda it doesn't always line up. And so the New World Order, however you want to put it, the West, all of these people, I don't think that they want this to be an all-out war. They want it to be a proxy war, and Ukraine doesn't necessarily want it to be a proxy war. They just want to win. And so they're launching bombs over there and saying that Russia did it because they were Russian bombs that Ukraine had purchased. So there you go on that. So they're trying to escalate this thing. They're trying to get I don't think they care if this goes nuclear. And if this does go nuclear, more likely that it's going to be launched toward the United States. It'll also be launched toward Russia. But Ukraine's actually got experience dealing with nuclear fallout. So there's that. Chernobyl.
Well,
that's the
first off, by they, you're not meaning the Ukrainian people. You're meaning the leaders.
I think, okay, so the leaders are kind of tied in with this whole globalist faction, but then there's also the ones that just want to win and escalate this and push this. So there's leaders like that, and then there's a lot of pro-Ukraine people that just want to to escalate it as well. The thing is, like, the Ukrainians are getting their butts kicked. And I don't care how much money you throw at it, until you get a different military fighting this situation over there. It's they're not going to win it, and so they know that. So they're trying to get NATO forces involved in this, and they got a bunch of mercenaries, but they probably want another country in there, and that as far as predictions for this year, I could see that happening.
You mean this upcoming year?
Yeah, 2023 predictions for 2023. There you go. That somebody else may get involved in this whole exchange, and I mean, I could see it being Poland. I don't know.
And that ties into my perspective that Ukraine just decided that they're going to win. And so by deciding they're going to win, they're going to drag in one person and then another person and then another person. And unless somebody decides to de-escalate, we're fucked. That's what I think. Somebody has to decide we're going to de-escalate this thing. Because right now,
by the way,
I think Ukraine decides it's going
to. I try to do an entire broadcast without a word because I have to flip it from explicit to not explicit whenever I'm putting this up on the hosting thing. And it's been me before, and sometimes it's even been my clips. Sometimes I'll bring in a clip or a music video back whenever we did those. But dang it. All right. I guess I could say, man.
Oh, did I accidentally drop the F-bomb or something?
Yeah, you did. You did. It's cool. It's cool.
Oh.
Perry's broke. It's good.
Yeah, we got to 30. We got to 31 minutes without doing it.
Right.
My curiosity is like I think Ukraine has decided so much that they're going to win that they're going to pull another world power in. They're going to pull somebody else into this war. I think that's how committed Ukraine is. And I don't think it's going to de-escalate until we get somebody else on stage on a world level. Like, if Trump wins in 2 years, he might, I personally, I know you don't like Trump as much as I do. I think Trump could de-escalate the entire situation through negotiations for oil, et cetera, et cetera. But I think at this point, there's some new leadership that has to de-escalate this thing, or I think it's going to continue to escalate because I think Ukraine's just decided they're going to win. And I think the world global power, the West in general, is behind them because it solves problems for them whenever it comes to banking and all the monetary systems we're in. Because I mean, the reason the U.S. became such a huge global power was because we were the only country that was not bombed to smithereens during World War II, and then we got on top. And I think there's several other countries that are trying to reset for that. It's like, let's just blow everything else up and then we're going to be on top because, population decrease, stuff like that. Like the money supply is getting stupid because they keep on playing around with the money supply.
Just kick the can. I mean, that's this print money on demand is not good for us. But, at this point, there's nothing we can do about it. We might as well enjoy this printed money while we can. And so since we don't give advice, I'm going to tell y'all out there that this is not advice whatsoever. But the things that you buy right now, while there's an abundance of money, are going to come in handy for whenever things get really screwed up from the inflation that's inevitable. So buy things that you can keep and use later, buy tools, buy things that are useful. And yeah, that's what I see there. But it's not.
So what was the other thing that you wanted? The 2022 rundown of worst things that we were facing. Well, I mean, Elon Musk buying Twitter. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. I mean, it's in better hands than it was before. I'm not a big Elon fanboy, like some people I know. I don't think we'll ever go to Mars. I don't like the idea of brain chips and transhumanism in general. I don't really care for democracy, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But cool. Twitter's in better hands. It's awesome. There's really nothing more to say to it from that. We'll just see what happens. I hope cool stuff does.
Well, he's peeling back the onion. So whenever you're peeling away bureaucracy, I mean, that's what's nice about buying a public company and taking it private. He's literally peeling back the onion because now he can. And then he's exposing how much bureaucracy was actually involved. He's exposing the FBI and stuff like that. And so that's a really fun thing to watch.
All the cover-ups that they pulled for the COVID regime. That when that comes out, that's going to be great. I'm really glad that all this stuff is coming out, but I think a lot of it is coming out a little bit too late. I mean, a bunch of people already injected themselves, and there's not anything you can do to undo that maneuver. So I just kind of wish that all of this stuff that we're seeing happen now that are white pills happened a lot sooner, because it seems like they're happening in a time where it's cool, it's damage is done. Now we get to find out that we were right, and a ton of stuff is like that. It feels like everything happens that way.
That's an interesting perspective. I mean, from my perspective, it's justifying those that resisted, and then those that resisted are going to continue to build up courage to continue to fight back. And for me, I feel like it's a wave building up a little bit more and a little bit more, because the people that were just like F no, they're building up their momentum, and they're deciding to push forward. They're deciding that, you know what, screw this system. I'm going to make sure that a change happens. To me, it's like Ron Paul. It's like Ron Paul just got like 100,000 disciples, and those 100,000 disciples that grew out of that Ron Paul movement are just pressing forward.
Right. I would like to see things get ahead of things, because in these situations like this where we're behind, it's the game's over, and then we get to find out they cheated at the end of the game. I mean, that's what is constantly happening right now. I mean, we just saw the Carrie Lake thing go down, and she's not even going to get a good trial, because they insulated the situation enough to make that not go her way. We're not going to see an investigation in these things. And that's why it's cool that there's great people out there like James O'Keefe that goes on exposing things, but we need more of it, and we need to get ahead instead of behind. And so, like, one way to do that, and I've mentioned this before, is watch what they're pre-bunking, because they'll set up a situation months before. They'll tell you it's going to go one way and then swerve it the other way, but they tend to do that. And so, yeah, we found out that the laptop was real. Yeah, I mean, we knew that, but we found out for sure it's verified, but nobody's doing anything about it at this point. Are you still there? I just saw you disappear. Oh, there you are.
I'm still here. I'm just
okay. Good.
I was just checking on one thing.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so we find out about this stuff after it's too late, and we're gonna find out a lot more about this vaccine now that tons of people have taken it, and that's just the nature of this system, and this is why everybody doesn't need to jump at the current thing. Whenever they start promoting a current thing, don't do it. Just avoid the current thing as much as you possibly can, because that is usually how they Pied Piper you into doing a lot of harm to yourself and others.
Have you been listening to a lot of Kanye West? Sorry, dang it, not him. Have you been listening to a lot of Sargon of Akkad?
I've never heard him before. I don't even really know who he is.
The current thing. That's his line.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I mean, it was a meme, you know. I support the current thing, and it's the NPC with the needles, the gay flags, and, you know, the Ukraine flag and everything else. You know, he's always supporting the current thing.
Yeah, and
But
that he came up during Gamergate. He was the first person that got well, the first prominent person that got taken off of Patreon, if we're talking about debanking. They took him off of Patreon, and that's actually why Jordan Peterson tried to create his own Patreon style thing, was specifically because of Sargon of Akkad, and that's why Local succeeded, was because Dave Rubin built off of Jordan Peterson's model, and created. They literally created a platform that got on. This is where I find encouragement in what we're doing. Like, there's so many crazy things that the elites are hitting at us, but there's also things that are running under the current right now that I think are going to bubble up and break that current system, because we're gaining so much more knowledge. We're seeing so much more of their false lies, etc. And I think certain things like that are going to break through, because from my understanding, Sargon of Akkad, who said that's his phrase, the current thing, you know, you support the current thing, and that's the way you can identify the plebs or the NPCs, the non-player characters. That's kind of like an outgrowth of his early on thing. He started in 2014 or 2012, somewhere around there, when he started gaining momentum. And it's really fun to watch these guys that have been in the game for a long time starting to break through that system. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be debanked in the future, just like these truckers got debanked. It's going to be
okay. Wait a second. So we have somebody in the comments that said that I might recognize Sargon of Akkad by his real name. What's his real name?
Carl Benjamin.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah. But
yeah.
I don't follow him. Yeah. I mean, I haven't like deeply followed him, but I've heard of him, and yeah. Oh, rad. It's Recycle Bin Laden. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, that's funny. Yeah, no, he actually ran for Parliament in the UK with Count Dankula, which is hilarious.
That's awesome. The troops of trolls out there, and you just talked about Jordan Peterson, who has betrayed the trolls. So I'm very disappointed in JBP right now, and now it's okay to make fun of his drug habit. Just so you know, if you want to see someone making fun of Jordan's drug habit, tune into the Doom Kitchen with William from England of the History Homos podcast.
That was actually kind of entertaining. I like that.
He's awesome. William is great. I was afraid that he might choke whenever I called him out for eating beef, which was actually lamb. But you know, that's what they eat in England, by the way. If y'all didn't know, most of the time it's lamb. The more you know.
So what did you think of do you think the Roe v. Wade was the impact on the midterms, or do you think it was Trump that was an impact on the midterms? Why do you think Roe v. Wade was what messed everything up for the red wave? What are your thoughts on?
It was honking. It was just honking, as you call it.
I guess that is the other option.
They insulated themselves from getting exposed for honking. I mean, we just saw that with Carrie Lake, that they won't even give a proper investigation of this story because they already had the judge set up. And so the judge that's going to oversee the situation, so her opponent oversees the election, and then the judge that is going to oversee the trial about it is already on the other side. And so we're never going to get any justice on this. We don't. I mean, democracy has always been an illusion, even if you're actually counting the votes. But now it's just they do what they want to do, and they got the money printer, so they're gonna do what they want to do. They're gonna make you broke. They're gonna steal as much as they possibly can. They're looting like crazy. I mean, like all the right wingers that want to complain about the looting that took place after the fentanyl riots. The looting is happening right now in politics, and these guys are looting way harder than anybody in an on-fire city in the summer of 2020.
Phrase that in a different way.
Okay, so if you're worried about looters, like you worried about after the killing of Floyd, well, it wasn't necessarily killing it. It really does look like an overdose. Check it out. I don't know for sure. Don't sue me. I don't have any money. Now, okay, so the fentanyl riots of 2020, whenever all this looting was taking place and everybody was clutching their pearls, they were freaked out, worried about it, and everything like that. Well, the big time looting is happening right now in Congress. You just saw what they passed with the 1.7 trillion. The looting that they do through the Ukraine that they launder through Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, and you know, and that was another part of the honking. That's how they honked it again. They're gonna keep honking. You know, you got to stop them from honking, or they're not gonna stop honking. They're gonna keep doing it, and the story will become less and less believable. But guess what? We're gonna become more and more complacent, and more. I guess we can't really do anything about it. And the thing is, our entire government at this point is illegitimate, and it's not only robbing you right now; it's robbing you in the future. It's robbing all the generations of the future, and they ain't stopping. There won't be anything left at some point.
No, I think the reverse is happening. I think that us talking about this is starting to slowly expose what's going on. I have not thought about that. The way that you phrased that was masterfully done. We were dealing with a honking, you know, riots, etc. You know, we were dealing with the riots and whatnot, and now we're dealing with the looting has escalated to a government level, to where the government is literally looting us at this point. And I haven't thought of putting it in that frame, but the looting that we experienced under Trump with the rioters, that looting has escalated to government levels that is going to it's going to be a bigger problem than it already is.
Well, check out what's on the back burner, what's coming up next, because we've already seen it. We've already seen it rear its ugly head, but it's going to come up big time within the next year. More and more. So we've already talked about climate lockdowns and all this climate nonsense, and we just had a crazy weather situation. And so when they start utilizing the environment to push all of this stuff, it's going to have a lot more teeth than a lot of other things, and than even the health scare crisis that they just put everybody through. This climate thing, and they're going to talk about climate refugees. We got to accept all these climate refugees because we haven't accepted enough illegal refugees. So, yeah, it's coming. All of this is right. You know, it's on the back burner, and it's simmering hard, and that'll be a big time loot.
Well,
big time. Go ahead.
The release of COVID, etc. Well, we're not sure about that.
We don't give health advice. Okay. The release of this nonsense virus that, you know, scared everybody and was inflated by the media and probably made in a lab and probably made by one of Fauci's associates. Probably, maybe, possibly. It was made in China. And but, you know, it was made with US research money and US research. So, you know, it was probably just made in China just so that you look at China. because hey, we got to scare you about China too. But go ahead.
This next wave of there's not been enough time to decouple from the China infrastructure for whenever you come to our wholesale goods, whenever you come to our supply chain. Our supply chain is still very tied to China, and we've actively, for at least last year, companies are trying to decouple, but we can't move that fast because of regulations that stop us building in the US and other areas. So we're still very tied into China. China just stopped their zero COVID policy. They just started allowing people to fly.
They were really hard on it for the past couple of months, but for a little bit of time, they were pretty chill. So they were really strict in the beginning. And then whenever you had the fake videos of people dropping dead on the streets that were they were just dropping, and they used that to freak all the lefties out and the NPCs. And so then followed by that, China really had a pretty chill time with everything until a couple of months ago. And it's something that there's something bigger going on there. I don't know exactly what it is, but there is it merits some research.
So from my understanding, they locked their borders down entirely and they kept COVID at bay. But now it's just got to a point where they can't keep it at bay anymore. So they're basically, there's going to be larger than the population of the US is going to be infected by COVID. That there's going to be a wave of COVID infections, and then there's going to be, like, I don't know, at least 10 million, if not higher, counts of death in older people. And so there's going to be another COVID scare that's going to happen. And all the different countries are going to try pushing that COVID scare forward, and we're going to face another lockdown situation.
So what? China's about 1/6 of the world's population, right? Something like that.
And at least 30% of them are going to get infected within the next 2 months.
Yeah, I don't think so. So here's what I think they did. I think that they took a town. They chose their little province that they were going to do this in. They cracked down super hard on that town. The rest of the country was chill and fine, and like it had been for the entirety of everything else. They chose who to punish for a reason. I'm sure that there was something that they had to do there, but it's a psyop. It's got to be a psyop, because we covered it a few weeks ago on the show. Whenever I showed you the video clip of them handing food over the fence for the guy, but yeah, they totally freaked out, locked down, but it was only in localized areas. And I think China they have their agenda out of this, and they're going to get what they want out of it because they were complicit in creating it.
I don't disagree with you at all. My point is that China took themselves off of a zero COVID policy. And by doing so, we're going to see another supply chain lockdown, and we're going to see more consolidation of wealth, because there's going to be a justification because China locked down. There's going to be more justification to try to lock down, that they're going to use that to try to consolidate power again. And are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm following. I just don't. I think that there's more reasons than what we could come up with. I just think that's it. I agree with all of those things. I just think that there's something else going on here, and we're not seeing it right off the bat. I think it would take somebody that's really solid in figuring these things out. So maybe possibly some boots on the ground over there to figure out exactly what they're trying to do with this.
Well, I don't think this was intentional. I think this is a byproduct, because I think that Winnie the Pooh use the situation to be able to get a third term, or technically term for life. So Winnie the Pooh, like Xing Jiaoping or something like that. But Winnie the Pooh is able to get he's in control for life now because he did the lockdowns. And so that's what greed happens. You know, like you've got these greedy guys, and there's like, we're just going to do this. We're just going to do this. And he overpowered it. But there's no natural immunity in the Chinese population, because every time COVID popped up, they literally like locked everything down. So there's going to be another wave. And as a byproduct, it was not intentional. He just wanted power. But as a byproduct, other countries are going to be like, oh my gosh, we've got another wave. And they're going to use that second wave as another level of power to start locking things down. And so we're going to see, and then we're going to see more riots, or more protests. And then we're going to see more debanking on top of that.
So you said off the bat that you don't think it was intentional, but now you're saying that it was intentional. I mean, everything is planned. So the thing to not be is a coincidence theorist. Be a conspiracy theorist. It's so much better than a coincidence theorist. None of this stuff happens by coincidence. That is insanity. This is all orchestrated, and these guys have a variety of agendas. And that's where some things you might end up with conflict, and you might see things not on the same page, that China is doing something against the World Economic Forum, or the World Economic Forum is doing something against, you know, the groveler hand wringers, you know, or something along those lines. Whenever you see that happening, then, you know, you just know that there's factions of power, where like the European bankers and the Fed are in conflict right now. Tom Luongo always talks about this. It's a very good show to tune into, is Gold, Goats, and Guns. And by the way, coming very soon on the Doom Kitchen, I'm going to be doing my first solo show, but it's going to be with lots of clips from lots of shows that I tune into. Check that out. It's basically an infomercial for podcasts I listen to. But there you go. I
like that one.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let you go off about what you think is gonna happen next year. I'm gonna disappear from camera because I got some quick business to take care of. But yeah, go off about what you think 2023 has in store for us.
That's gonna be fun. How long do I have?
Go for it. Yeah.
No, do I have like 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
Go for it. Just go for it. It's probably going to take me about 20 seconds, but you know.
Well, you have to give me a response in kind. You have to.
Oh,
of
course,
to give
of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Go for it then.
Awesome. All right. So I think that we're approaching a white pill moment, which is going to be happening. I think that we're going to start ramping up. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to take 2 years. I personally think Trump's going to do some shenanigans and in a good way and end up winning re-election. I think that Elon Musk is going to boost Twitter up and make it a free speech platform. And I think that free speech is going to be something that is going to be more mainstream. I think that we're getting, if you lived through the .com bubble and you saw those few websites that got through, I think we're getting over the end of the crypto bubble. And so we're going to see cryptocurrency start supplanting the fiat currency, quote unquote. And we're going to start seeing that stuff move forward. And I'm personally optimistic about the future because of the access to the internet and the access to and the ability to broadcast our ideas and not be isolated. The fact that people with different perspectives are no longer isolated but can share their perspectives, I think that's going to start building a better business culture for what we're building towards. Last night and today, I got 2 large checks. Well, actually 3 large checks. And I had 8 hours of business meetings connecting different people to larger ideas of what we can build in wealth. And the only reason I can do that is because of the internet. I could not have this type of business relationship 15 years ago. I could not be looking at the business that I'm working on building 15 years ago. And so I'm personally optimistic about where we're going. And like I said, I think Trump broke the system. And it's not just him, but the people that helped him get elected that broke that system. And we're going to start seeing a wave happen that decentralizes power back towards state level rather than consolidates it in a few level of elites. But the only way we're going to get there if we continue using the power that's at our fingertips. But that's my perspective. Andy, your turn.
Okay. Well, I think that every single thing that you're talking about is very optimistic, and I think that everybody that believes that agrees with you really should take that as what they're going to take away from you. So, take that and turn it into rage for what you're going to lose. I think that individual freedom is going to get cracked down on more and more. I think that that my show is probably going to be removed from YouTube at some point in the coming months. I think that a lot of people that have opinions are going to be penalized in other ways, especially whenever you have opinions about their climate hoax. You're going to see people getting kicked off of Twitter whenever Elon puts it in the hands of one of his buddies, and one of those names that was thrown around was Jared Kushner, who really screwed up everything that could have come good out of the Trump regime. So there was, Trump was in there, he had power, but he couldn't use it. And one of those people preventing him from using power, or only let him utilize his power to benefit a certain group of people. One of those people that was in that machine was Kushner. And so we've got all that. I think he's, a lot of people say this, and I agree with them. I think Trump has served his purpose. I think that that he did well with it for a time, but he also opened up things for the other side. We never were allowed to talk about $1 trillion before. Even hundreds of billions of dollars were not talked about. Now, every single time Congress does anything, that'll be another $1 trillion. We'll just run it off the printer. And he likes to do things big, and he did something big, and now, Biden gets the profit off of it more than anybody. That's why we're seeing all of this money just being printed into oblivion. They're bankrupting us and propping up the Ukraine. I mean, anytime I see people suffering, and I'm not some bleeding heart that is worried about the suffering of people on the streets and stuff like that. I understand in a lot of ways that those people got themselves there themselves, but I really think that those people should be helped, if anything, before a country like the most corrupt country in Europe. I think we're going to see a lot more technology invading our lives. I think a lot of people are going to go with it. We're going to see more people on the Oculus metaverse. I think 2023 will probably be the year that more people are immersed into this VR nonsense, and they're going to be plugged in to escape all the chaos that's being created by the nihilistic forces in control of everything. So all pessimism. and possibly CBDCs, but that's going to take a few years. But we're going to start seeing more and more things ramp toward getting rid of paper money.
Well, ramp towards paper money or away from paper money?
Ramp toward getting rid of paper money. Sorry, I misspoke there.
Okay.
And also I want to be optimistic about Bitcoin, but this year has really let me know that somebody's got the levers, you know. And now that I know that there's ways that they can manipulate it, because it has been manipulated throughout the year or the last couple of years, and since I can see that people have their hands on it and they're pulling strings, that I'm not optimistic about crypto at all. I really think that I have some and I'm going to keep it, but I'm not optimistic about it. I really think metals are going to look really, really good soon. I don't know how well that's going to be for spending, but yeah, the things that you really want are things that you can use, and food and water, and access to things that, you know, access to a place where you can hunt, for instance, are going to be a lot more important. And, you know, stay out of the smart cities, y'all. Don't eat the bugs. Stay out of the pod. All that other fun stuff.
Well, that's the pessimistic side. I don't disagree with you on everything there. The smart people need to get into real estate. 100%. Need to get into real estate, cows, gold. The area I disagree with you. Need to get into some Bitcoin. We're not a financial advice company or podcast. This is not financial advice.
It's
Just
not
keep
advice.
that in
We're
mind.
just telling you what we do and what we think. It's not advice. Advice would be telling you to do something. I'm not telling you anything. If you think that I'm doing the right thing, then maybe you want to consider it. But, you know, even then, you know, run it by somebody. Run it by somebody else, you know. I'm not an advice.
I'm personally going to start looking into goats within the next 6 months.
Cool. That'll be awesome. That'll be badass. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah, a lot of things. You know, try to make the best life for yourself is the only non-advice I can give you. Is do the best that you can for yourself, because if you can help yourself, you can help other people. And so eventually it comes out, it's not necessarily being selfish to set yourself up for the best thing possible later. If you can see down the line, then whenever it comes time to helping people that you care about, if you're doing well, then you're good. So, you know, worry about what you got going on. And really, like all the crazy doomer nonsense that's happening, you know, don't let it get you down. Like you gotta have an internal fire, and really, you know, eyes on the prize. This life is nothing. You know, do the most that you can for your soul. And
so on that note, what would your advice be for getting through? Because I agree with you. I think we're getting to a downturn in the economy, and the people that are able to weather this storm are going to be able to get on top. And that's still part of my optimism is, you know, learning from people, listening to podcasts, growing in knowledge, and moving forward. What's your ideas of moving forward on how we can actually weather this storm? Because I don't think it's over. Like I said, I think China is setting us up for another power grab that's going to be happening this year, because I think we're going to see a lot more COVID cases, etc.
I think the most valuable thing of all the things that are, this is something that's actually not a thing. The thing that's not a thing is your community. And so build a good community, and that'll ensure you for the rest of everything else. And so trust is a big part of it, and then also you gotta vibe with somebody's morality. You can't be around people whose morality is bad. So
That is that right there is the advice that I like. Like one of my buddies, he's like 60 something. He's an older dude. And his advice to me was, do not yoke myself with somebody that does not have my same beliefs in his essence. Do not be unequally yoked. That's the way he worded it. And he wasn't talking about marriage. He was talking
right.
He was talking about moving forward, and you want to find a community of people. Part of me says that you want to find a community of people that has that can-do attitude. Part of the reason that me and Andy started doing this was to build a new skill set. Was to continue to build a skill set of being able to communicate and become more eloquent in our speaking, etc., and thus building more skill sets to be able to move forward. And I highly encourage that. Start building skill sets that are complementary to each other in order to start building forward to the future that we have. Me and Andy are friends. We're able to communicate, etc. But we have disagreements. But that's part of it, is being able to communicate with people that you have disagreements with, because a lot of people can't do that. It's either my way or the highway. I don't want to hear a different perspective. And being able to hear a different perspective helps you gain a different perspective for yourself. And that's what helps you move forward. If somebody challenges you, that helps you think outside the box. It helps you think harder. And even if you are 100% sure you're right, that means that you have to figure out how to defend your perspective, which is also another skill set. And I think that's what's really important about what the age that we're about to move into, because I think we're at the very beginning stages. If you think back to the dot-com bubble, the beginning stages of the dot-com bubble, everything was going crazy. There was money running everywhere. And then everything started drying up. And then the people they were able to navigate that wave were the ones that came on top. And I think we're getting into that. We're getting into a similar stage. It's been almost 20 years, or right around 20 years now, to where we're riding that wave. Actually, it's been 30 years since the dot-com bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, it started sometime in the 90s. It wasn't quite 30 years, but it started in the late 90s. And now we're entering 2023. So it started about 99, 98?
Yeah, right around there. No, it might have been 95. It's somewhere around there, though. So it's been like 25 years. But from my perspective, the people that are able to ride this wave are going to be able to shift what society looks like. But I think we're headed into a very turbulent time. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think we need to be very careful about our resources. We need to make sure that we learn new skill sets for this upcoming year. It's not going to be an easy year. But for those that apply themselves, it's going to be a wild year.
It's going to be a dark winter of severe illness and death.
For those that apply themselves, this is going to be the best year that you look back on in your life. You're going to be like, I made it that year. But it's going to take discipline in my perspective. In my perspective, it's either going to turn out to be bad or good.
So let's do goals, and I'll start. My goal for 2023 is to meet more and more people that are either tuned in to me or tuned into the shows that I tune into. That's really my agenda with this show, is to get everybody to listen to the shows I listen to, so that I have more people like me that I can actually talk to. So, but yeah, I would like to meet more of you, and keep that going. Find me through the link tree, and definitely add me on the Twitter, and find my group in Telegram, and let's have good times. What's your goal for this?
I know you have 1 or 2 more goals this year.
Oh yeah, of course I do, but I'm just sticking one out there. I'm not trying to run up the clock. We're already at 1:15.
Give me one more goal that you have for yourself.
Oh man, I've been looking and I'm approved for a loan. I just got to find where I want to live. So I'm really happy about that and working on that. So that's a goal of the year is to make sure that's signed. And I think that was my goal of last year that I didn't actually accomplish, but I got to get this done.
That's the one I wanted to hear. My goal is to buy 4 more houses this year. Encourage other people to get their own businesses started, because I think that's going to be the most important thing is creation right now. Creation is the most important thing, and it's also the most fulfilling thing, whether it's creating a baby and providing for that baby, or whether it's creating a new business, taking a property and making that property better. I want to encourage people in that realm of creation. And that's the business model that I'm setting myself up for. I'm trying to channel everything I have into encouraging other people to create more. And by doing so, I'm going to make more money. Because that's I don't want to make money by taking advantage of people. I want to make money by helping people grow and giving people opportunity to grow. And every single day I've been walking forward this year, I keep on getting surprised. And I hope that next year it's going to explode. And the potential is, I think, going to be wild, because there's so much ability inside of every single person I talk to. And the key thing is to unlock that ability and get that person moving forward and no longer being trapped in despair. There's a way to break the mold. There's a way to break the matrix.
For sure. And here's the most important goal, and this should be number 1 for everybody. Get closer to Jesus.
Amen to that.
Amen. All right, so I'm going to start the theme now, and thanks everybody. Happy New Year. I hope 2023 is good for you, as it was for me.
I'm white. I'm black. I'm yellow. I'm red. I'm gay.
And I am the Drizzle, host of Grand Theft World Liberty Radio. Look, man, here's the deal. If you're not listening to Liberty Radio, then you've got a problem with yourself.
Getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.